Laoshi Lawrence McElroy here for Water Tiger School of Tai Chi Chuan. Back again, and back again with the Five Animal Frolics this time out. So a little Qigong focus, a little moving Qigong. It has never ceased to amaze me. One, these are really popular, and two, that this is also a set of Qigong that a lot of people see it and they go, oh, what kind of Tai Chi is that? Well, it's not Tai Chi, it's Qigong. It's a moving Qigong. So, and you know, here's the t-shirt, no reveal. We're, as the Starks would say, winter is coming. So eventually this little studio will be quite chilly, and there'll have to be a reveal simply because I will be in layers while we do the shooting, so will everybody else. But anyway, I sort of digress. The t-shirt, I like the water and the fire dragons, especially for Qigong. This is the second time I've worn this t-shirt in front of the camera. The first was all the way back on April 3rd of 2020. So like, I don't know, 3-4 weeks in to our initial launch of the YouTube channel in conjunction with a Facebook Live series for some public library programs. And by the way, that particular video was the second part of a 2-part series on the 13 root energies of Tai Chi. So anyway, getting back to the fire and water, different people have different versions of what exactly it means to be doing water Qigong or fire Qigong. Water Tiger School's understanding is that fire is an external focus in your Qigong, and that's the Waidan, or external elixir, and water is the Nadan, or the internal elixir. Five Animal Frolics are actually a blending of both, so there's balance between the two. And our Animal Frolic today, it's going to be the second one of the 5 that we finished. So there's crane, monkey, tiger, bear, and deer in the approach to the 5 Animal Frolics in the Water Tiger School lineage. And back on May 11th, we completed the tiger, all 5 of the frolics from the tiger. Today, we're going to complete all 5 of the crane with crane landing. Now, oddly, even though all 5 are here, and we did the same thing with the tiger, sort of all over the place. In other words, the order in which we had presented them on the channel, and mostly through, for some of it, through the Facebook Live and things for Facebook series, not in the formal order in which they're usually presented. Not sure what the order exactly is that we presented, but the actual order for the crane, and to us, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I'll explain that in a moment. Crane walking, crane flying, crane walking on one leg. What? Crane was just flying. Crane landing, but you were just walking on one leg. And crane gliding. Wait a second. So it's odd. It works, but it's odd. So crane landing today, and it's a little bit different than any of the other Animal Frolics. Of course, we're big these days on not comparing things to other things. But you'll see those differences if you've been following the sequence when we get to that particular exercise, our main point of focus. So FYI, look below me in the information introduction to this video, and you will find the links to all the previous 4. They're spread out between Facebook Live that we uploaded, and once we left Facebook Live and started doing pre-recorded videos for Sachem Public Library here in Long Island, it was Water Tiger for Sachem New, and the new was in parentheses. So they're spread out between 2 playlists, but the direct links are hot linked below me. I think we're going to have another Runted Lips episode today. So as always, with the Five Animal Frolics, simply because they can be a little bit trickier on the knees than some of the other things that we do. We like to start with our warm-up from the 9 temple exercises, advance and retreat. It's the one warm-up that we repeat on a regular basis. Otherwise, we do our best to keep them fresh, but we're starting to run a little bit low on them. So let's just start with a shake, shaking things out. I mentioned that the Facebook Live series was for public classes at the head of the pandemic at the beginning of home isolation. We are finally, 2.5 years later, starting to see in-person public classes in our little part of Long Island. However, a little twisties. Infection rate's still kind of high on Long Island, and expected at this point, while we are taping this, for it to be, I guess we're not really taping, we're recording it, to increase again. So we're sort of split in the room, some masks, some not, because the mask mandates have been lifted. I'm still masking in public. Alrighty, so advance and retreat from the 9 temple exercises. The reason that we choose this is it really puts our minds in our knees, because through this exercise, our focus is on keeping the knees and the toes pointed in the same direction, because we're going to twist the torso, and the tendency for us when we twist the torso is to pull the outside knee or the behind knee or the rear knee with us, and that puts a shearing pressure on the knee that you don't want. So as we do the shift, as we do the turning, keeping the toes and the knees forward, ultimately important. That's made a little bit easier if you narrow your stance a little bit, but we usually recommend, if possible, that you go a little bit broader than shoulder wide. Now, when you're determining, your torso twist, if you will, and since we do that, the twisting is either weighted toward the left or toward the right. This is my left. Then settle the weight into your left foot and begin to turn above the hips. And when you feel that sort of get to its range of motion and feel that rear hip start to turn, because it's going to be the rear hip that moves that knee, then you're done turning that band. And then turn the center band. And then the chest and shoulders. And then you have, the head, the neck, and the head to look in that direction. And we're going to do just a quick movement in the retreat portion, shifting, and then again, turning above the hips. And as we start to hit that range of motion again, if you get to that point where you feel that rear hip turning and that rear knee collapsing, then you're done in that area. And just see where your range of motion takes you. And in this exercise, I'm still chewing or sucking on my mint here. Let me get rid of it. We tend to let the arms hang. So they're sort of floppy arms. And that's a good thing for mindfulness too, that we don't add extra tension to the arms. The advance and retreat works the abdominals, the legs, the ankles, activates the Xia Dantian and the Shen Yu cavity, and the organs that are benefited include kidney, liver, spleen, pancreas, gallbladder, and, well, if there's a colon, it is benefited by this. So you have your ascending, your traverse, and your descending colons, all in this one little exercise, and the plus focusing on the knees. So we get the knees and the toes headed in the same direction. The other thing that I want to point out is how in this exercise, You can also explore how when you're retreating, there's advancing. You know, just a really broad view of that is as I'm retreating, I'm moving the weight into, in this case, my right leg, but my left leg is extending forward, is advancing. I also have, because of my turn in my torso, my left shoulder is retreating, my right shoulder is advancing. So those are sort of broad images on that note. But the basic here where you really want to put your mind is on the knees. So if that suggestion gets in your way, too much thought, too much consciousness, and you lose track of your knees, move away from that. The suggested breath pattern that I'm going to give you, breathe when you have to, if that distracts you from making sure your knees and your toes stay in alignment. Warning, warning, Will Robinson. All righty, so here we go, advance and retreat. We'll probably do 12 pairs, I think that sounds right. We might do less, we might do a little bit more, I might lose count. So we start with retreat, even though from Water Tiger School perspective, the exercise is called advance and retreat. We retreat first. It's always a better choice. Knowledge, ability to fight, the choice not to fight. Settle the weight into whichever leg, but I'm doing the left. We're going to do a balanced number of pairs, so do what's right for you. Turn the torso, protecting the knees. Look in the direction from which you are moving. So my weight's in my left, I'm looking to the left, I'm pushing off on the left foot to fill the right, moving away from the left side of the room, keeping the weight in the right as I turn and look to the right, and then push off on the right foot to fill the left. So I have two separate movements here. I turn, and then I shift. I turn, and then I shift. I turn, and then I shift. It's not turning and shifting at the same time. Turn and shift, that's about 3 pairs. Maybe an exhalation as I turn, and an inhalation as I shift, and an exhalation as I turn, and an inhalation as I shift, and an exhalation as I turn. And now see, feel, imagine something is expanding, something is becoming young, and we are becoming yin. And then turn, and then something on this side is expanding, is becoming young, and we're becoming yin. Again, if that distracts you from making sure your knees and toes are tracking the same direction, back away from that exploration and focus on the knees and toes, and turn. We're at about 6 pairs, I think, on this one. So about halfway home on retreat, and shift, and turn, and shift. I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit, and turn, and shift. There's 7, and turn, and 8, and turn, and 8 pair, and turn, and 9, and turn, and 9, and turn, and 10, and turn, and 10, and turn, and 11, and turn, and 11, and the last pair, so turn and shift, last retreat on that in that direction, turn, last retreat in this direction, and now nothing, just sit here. So advance now, I'm looking to the right, my weight is on the left leg, I'm going to move toward the right. So that visual image, the yin and yang of this, is something is becoming yin, space is opening up. I'm going to move into it. And the breath pattern may change to an exhalation on the shift and an inhalation on the turn. So beginning that first advance, second half of the exercise, again, somewhere around 12 pairs, shift and turn. And just notice if I hang out here for a while, it takes a while for the arms to stop moving. Shift and turn. I'm going to hold again for a moment. So I am not holding them stiff. I don't have the old washing machine agitator arms, right? They're like loose ropes, like wet rags hanging off my shoulders. We're only through 1 pair. Shift, maybe on an exhalation. Turn, maybe on an inhalation. I'm maintaining crown point of the head, base of the pelvic bowl. Shift and turn, so the spine continues to hang like a string of pearls. So this is Qigong and not Tai Chi. Shift and turn, shift and turn. It's about 3 pairs. Exhalation, maybe, inhalation, exhalation, inhalation, shift and turn. Not leaning, shift and turn. Hence crown point of the head over the base of the pelvic bowl. Shift and turn, shift and turn. We're going to call that 6 pairs, 5 pairs, I think. Shift and turn, shift and turn. Last 6 and turn. And again, last 6 and turn. Last 5 and turn. Last 5 and turn. Last 4 and turn. Last 4 and turn. Last 3 and turn. Last 3 and turn. Last 2 and turn. Last 2 and turn. Last 1 and turn. Last 1 and turn and face the front and redivide the weight equally between your 2 feet. And there you go, a little advance and retreat. It has other names. I think we'll probably put at least 1, if not 2, in the hashtags in the information list from the 9 temple exercises, or simply the temple exercises. So each of the 5 animals, and again, if you've been paying attention, if you've been following this channel for a while, and the various animal frolics we've introduced, still got a lot left, by the way, a lot left. I think the bear, we've only done a couple. Deer, I think we've only done 1, maybe 2, but I think only 1 of the deer. Got a few of the monkey done. But anyway, there's still a lot left. Each of the 5 animals have a therapeutic quality, sort of a basic and then sort of general. And from Water Tiger School perspective, we believe actually all of them can help with issues with arthritis, though usually I think the Tiger Frolics is the only one that specifically lists arthritis as a therapeutic quality. And the crane's therapeutic quality is cultivate a healthy heart. And it also can help with certain mental conditions. It's very calming, very relaxing, very mentally balancing, as well as physically balancing, but mentally balancing. Each of the 5 animals has a nature, and the nature of the crane is expressed through grace and elegance. And we always like to say here that a sense, a feeling of grace and elegance. In other words, yes, some cranes may fall down, but we want to touch as much as we can with that sense of grace and elegance as we move. Each animal has a spirit, and the spirit of the crane is light and peaceful, as if soaring through the clouds. And by the way, we usually refer to those two, the nature and the spirit of the crane, in our approach to our Tai Chi Qigong, that the movement of our Tai Chi Qigong in our stationary set, in things from the stationary family of Tai Chi Qigong, the primary and the coiling, through which we've come up with a couple of different sort of customized combinations. The movement should be, it should reflect those two things. By the way, and in that vein, each animal has sort of a specific as to where the focus is on movement. And movement for the crane there shouldn't be any exertion. So nothing clenched, nothing tense, just nice and relaxed. Each animal has its different breath. Sometimes the breath changes for a particular animal at different times. And generally with the animal frolics, and this is where this one sort of stands out from the other frolics we've presented so far, that both breath and movement have pauses. That's usually, like for instance, other crane videos, you'll experience that you have the nice soft inhalation in through the nose and a hold. And then a soft exhalation through the lips, pursed, as if a nice gentle breeze again. But a pause between the two. But in crane landing, it's going to be continuous. And should match the movement, which might be difficult to take a full comfortable breath, right? Not 100% in, 100% out, but a full comfortable breath within the time it takes to do the movement. And we'll specify what that means as we move a little bit forward. And the qi, each animal has its own focus of qi. Now, with the crane, it's twofold. And for a lot of the other animals, it is also twofold, or it might change. And the crane, for the second aspect, changes depending upon the frolic. In this one, the primary focus the thread that runs throughout the crane is on the inhalation. The image, the idea, the task, I don't like that word, is to draw the qi up from the Shia Dantian, not the acupuncture point, but the actual esoteric vessel that sits in the cup of the hips and the lower abdominal cavity, up to the Zhang Dantian area in the middle of the torso cavity. And then on the exhalation, back down from the Zhang Dantian to the Shia Dantian. And again, that up and down is a flow. But don't let that image make you do sort of what I just feel like I did, right? It's just in that movement of qi between the Shia Dantian and the Zhang Dantian. The secondary focus focuses on the wings. And here it changes through the movement. By the way, what is this movement? If you know Water Tiger School, if you've been in the room, on the mat, met with us remotely, and you've been introduced to the Tai Chi Qigong breathing set, which again is a customized, there we go. That's the word I couldn't find. Customized combination order of exercises or postures from the stationary family of Tai Chi Qigong, from both the primary stationary set and the coiling set. No, it's heavily weighted to the primary set. And the first moving posture in that breathing set is called expand the chest to cleanse the body. And the arms cross in front, leading with the palms up. And then they come down, leading with the palms down. Now the movement's not going to be the same because the purpose is different, but it's going to sort of have that pattern. And by the way, while we don't say the cross changes in the breathing set, it does here. And it's going to coordinate with the stepping. So one time the right hand's going to be in front, one time the left hand's going to be in front, or vice versa, however you want to look at it. Probably better if I say the left hand's going to be behind and the right hand's going to be behind. They switch back and forth. The reason that I say the movement is different is that this is when the crane is landing and using the wings to bring themselves in, sort of think of air brakes. So it's a little bit more rounded kind of movement than simply down. On the up, the focus in the wings for the qi is on the inside of the wings. So top of the biceps, inside of the elbow fold, underside of the forearm, and in the palm of the hand. And on the way down, it's on the outside of the arms. So the outside of the triceps, biceps, the outside or the top of the forearm, the outside of the hands, the little dewy feathers that are at the end of the wings. So that's the movement. That's the qi focus again. That focus in the arms and the wings is also going on as the qi is imagined sinking and rising between the Shia Dantian on the exhalation, Zhang Dantian on the inhalation. The movement is continuous. And the reason first that we focus on the knees in the in the warm-up in advance and retreat is we're stepping to the 45 and stepping to the 45, stepping with the heel to the 45. So if we're not really mindful of the knees, it's easy to bend the knee sideways or bring the knee width during the stepping process. And you want to make sure knees and toes stay the same direction. Most all the other frolics, you step, you pause, and then you do something else. Either simply shift the weight into that foot because you step flat-footed, or switch to the heel and fill that foot. Maybe bringing the foot in, maybe leaving the ball of the back foot on the earth, that sort of thing, and pause, and then step again. This stepping is continuous. So just as the movement in the upper body is continuous, as the breath is continuous, as the imagining of the chi flow is continuous, the stepping is continuous. So I'm going to be stepping to 145, and it has to be shoulder wide, and that also doesn't really have to be the 45. That's the ideal, but if you have knee and hip issues, then a little bit more narrow angle, so toes not straight forward, but angled out at an angle that you can handle. Don't want to go beyond a 45, but the 45 is ideal. And you're moving from foot to foot like that. I'm going to finish with the right foot forward. There. So there are all the parts. The last part that I want to give you before we do a pass or 2 or 3 is the closing. Generally, I forget I'm going to have to do the closing until I actually have to do the closing. So here's a bonus. Get it before. You want to balance the steps from one side to the other. So we're going to start with a step to the left. So that means we're going to finish with a step to the right. And wherever the hands are, they're going to actually, in this instance, they're going to reverse the direction they're going. And it's sort of reminiscent to some people from another posture exercise from our 10-piece Tai Chi Qigong breathing set, pour Qi through the Bach way, because now I'm going to lead with the palms up. I'm going to turn into the direction I've been walking on the balls of the feet, fingertip to fingertip on the center line. Boom. And here I'm going to sink so I can rise back up a little bit and have that sink, get the hands down, and the rise, pull the hands over the acupuncture point for the Xia Dantian. Again, the acupuncture point for the Xia Dantian, if you're just tuning in for the first time with one of these videos, on the lower abdominal cavity, on the center line, between the belly button and the pubic bone, but much closer to the pubic bone than the belly button. Generally, where your elbow folds and where that hand comes into contact in that space, closer to the lower than the higher, that's where you want one hand and the other over the top. Now, Water Tiger School perspective again, not really determining left or right is next to the body. It's always our point of view that whichever hand needs to be there for you is the one that's there. I've been doing this for a long time. And generally, it's always my right hand. I was doing meditation the other day, leading a class, and suddenly realized my left hand was next to my body. And it felt absolutely perfect. Just did it on its own. So, anywho, that's the closing. You take that last step, you're stepping, you're doing your thing, you're stepping, you're doing your thing, bring that foot in, turn into the direction you're walking, and that little rebound brings the hands to the acupuncture point for the Xia Dantian. One last note, we'll do our first pass, and that's these animal frolics that we're presenting are normally done in their own practice in walking a circle. So it's a circle walk, and usually, it's better if you can to do it with more people. Not quite in the same way as the fragrance set, but it's just nice to do with people. And it also makes it more challenging because different people have different ranges of motions, different ability to step and that sort of thing, and you can get traffic jams. So It's an interesting proprioception, kinesthesia, and dealing with a sense of community as you're doing the walk. But anyway, should be a circle. However, teaching and learning the Five Animal Frolics, because they're continuous movement, a lot easier to do in a linear fashion. So that's why the presentation is done in a linear fashion. The other thing to keep in mind, I guess I should mention at this point, is some people don't walk. Some people do an animal frolic and they'll set the foot out. They'll do something with that foot, and then they'll bring the foot in, and then they'll step out with the other foot, and then they'll bring the foot in, and something in a movement that's something like that. And our five animals are not everybody's five animals. I've seen phoenix, I've seen serpent, I've seen dragon, I've seen panther. Trying to think of what else I've seen. I think that's it that I have seen. Probably myriad more. Alrighty, so the crane frolics. Remember all those little things. You don't have to really focus on the fact that the therapeutic quality is to cultivate a healthy heart, and it's good for, you know, different issues mentally, and helps calm the mind, balance, creates a certain mental balance, can anyway. That's not as important as maintaining that sense of grace and elegance, being light and peaceful, having no exertion in the physicality, remembering the breath is in through the nose, softly out through the mouth. Sound of a wind, kind of a nice breeze. You know, we're not talking windstorm here. That the qi is sinking and rising, sinking down on the exhalation to the Xia Dantian, the vessel, not the acupuncture point. On the inhale, rising to the Zhang Dantian, the middle field of elixir. Again, the vessel, not the acupuncture point. And on the inside of the wings, as they cross and go up, the outside of the wings as you're coming in for your landing. And that the movement and the breath in this instance are both continuous. I think we're ready to go. I almost asked for questions. So what I get in Water Tiger School has 3 public classes going right now. And again, the first time since before the world stopped in early March of 2020. So it's sort of a weird experience being back in front of people aside from the studio. So just breathe and remember too, again, if you've been following the series, or welcome to the last of the points of the 5 Animal Frolics from the Water Tiger School lineage. The 5th point is, first, you get a grasp of the Buddhist aspect of the frolic, which is sort of all these little details. And then you want to explore coming into contact with the Taoist aspect of the frolic, which is to become the animal. It is not like an acting class with the Stanislavski method. Google it. What would I do if I were this character in these given circumstances? Not what would I do if I were a crane in these given circumstances. No, you are the crane. Funny story. Especially since I mentioned earlier, some cranes do fall down. I had a student one time tell me that he was struggling with crane walking on one leg. And he stopped for a moment and thought, well, a crane doesn't fall down when it's standing on one leg. They just stand there. He said, my balance issues went away. We always suggest with the animal frolics, you actually observe the animal that you're supposed to be, because it can help. So, you know, cranes, you know, it might sound odd, but flamingos, they're actually quite beautiful if they're not a yard ornament. Herons are very prominent in my area of Long Island. See a lot of herons. Anyway, so pick your path. Remember 45, 45, continuous movement. Get in touch with your inner crane. A few breaths. Then find an exhalation, because it's an inhalation as you step out, and an exhalation as you come in. And when I come in, my stepping leg, which will be my right leg, the right hand is on the inside. So it can be on the outside here. Step, exhale. Left hand on the inside, closer to my body because it's the left foot. It's going to step. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Going to take 2 more steps. Inhale. Exhale. Last step. Inhale. Exhale. Crossing. But now I'm going to turn in the direction I've been walking. Palms up. Palms down. And that little rebound, that little bounce back up, allowing that bounce, allowing that bounce, allowing that bounce to bring the hands back to the Shiadantiya. There you go. Crane landing. Do another pass this direction, and then a pass away from the camera. And I think we're probably good to go. So again, crane landing, one of the 5, crane walking, crane flying, crane walking on one leg, crane landing, crane gliding. Always that sense, that light and peaceful sense as if soaring in the air. Remember, if I'm going to be stepping with the left foot, the left hand's on the inside. I'm going to be stepping with the right foot, the right hand's on the inside. So, and boom, left, right. Settling in, getting in touch with the inner crane. Exhaling. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, last 3 steps, starting now. Step to the right, 1 more step to the left. Bringing 1 more step to the right. Bringing the rear foot in on that exhalation, turning in the direction you've been walking, palms up, palms down. And then a little rebound. So were you to be walking the circle, you have the circle has its pattern, its border. You're stepping 45 to 45 on that pattern. You take the last step, you would turn into whatever angle you are on the border of the circle as you walk the circle. I just wanted to throw that in there. So I'm going to move away from you for 1 last pass. All right, yep. So I'm going to bounce the weight into the left. Exhale, into the right. Left hand crosses closer, stepping with the left. Inhale up. Exhale down. Comfortable. Full breaths in the time that you're given. So it's a little bit about breath governance, especially if you start moving faster. Shouldn't be taking shallow breaths just because of quicker movement. I get 2 more after this. Last to the left. Last to the right. Turning in the direction we've been walking. Palms up. Palms down. And a little rebound. There you go. Crane gliding to finish off the crane frolics. As always, hope you enjoyed our little time together here. That if nothing else, you were a little bit entertained. If by no other means, the fact I trip over my tongue a lot. And hopefully learn something. You take something away from this video. That's always good. Still, and I know that they still have a beta or a test program for algorithms on YouTube about flagging inappropriate posts for removal. We're not trusting that at this point, so we do screen everything, but you know, as long as you're not flaming it, as long as you're arguing a point with which you disagree that we made during a video, with respect, we'll let it go through. Negative comment, positive comment, whatever it is. We'll also share a link to this video on our Facebook page, Water Tiger School of Tai Chi Chuan. So that's a little bit more open. But if you do flame us there, you'll be blocked and the comment will be deleted. So respect always. Everybody does this stuff differently, and our diversity is our strength, not our weakness, within the Tai Chi and Qigong community. That's our point of view anyway. So again, thank you. We're on a rhythm right now. Can't guarantee it's going to continue, but right now every 3 weeks. So you'll see us again in 3 weeks, a Tai Chi focus of some sort. We have a couple of things in the queue, and some other possibilities, maybe cooking, but they're not officially in the queue at this moment. So thanks for your time and attention. As always, take care, stay safe, be well, be aware, be safe.